Namaste. I'm Ezichi Ade. This is the Golden Circle Movement channel. Today we're discussing me, Ezichi Ade. A little about my background. I am 55 years old at the time of this recording, and I was born in 1963, so after this year you'll have to do the math. Any case, I am a person who really was not a believer in spiritual matters, spiritual life. I was a scientist. I was raised in military school. I have a very disciplined background. I never served in the military, but I've always had a very militaristic attitude and personality. You know, I'm a person who gets things done, who gets up in the morning and executes a plan. So, you know, I've always been a person who believed in what I could see and hear, my five senses. I didn't believe in ESP or spiritual energy I believe there was a soul, I suppose, some type of life force that guided us, guided our bodies. But yeah, I guess I even believed in God. I didn't have any structure. I didn't have any type of spiritual practice. So fast forward, say, well, I suppose in order to make the story complete, we should start with my mother. My mother was a spiritualist. She was a spiritual advisor. She saw things. She knew things before they happened. She was able to guide and counsel many people with her insight. And she taught me some of the fundamentals of what it was that she did, but I never took it seriously. I laughed it off. I told her, Mom, come on, Mom. Now, my mother has passed years ago, and some years later, I think in my 20s, maybe like 23, 25, somewhere in there, I had an out-of-body experience. And this out-of-body experience took me to a place where I saw these lights moving towards something. I couldn't tell what, but these lights, they didn't seem like stars. They just seemed like little tiny lights. And then one of them came in front of me, and it wasn't really white. It was kind of a off-white, kind of a dirty white, if you will, but it smelled like my mother. And I began receiving images from this ball of light. It was my mother. She was communicating with me as to what my future would hold, what I was to do. I took away from that encounter that I was to carry on for her in her place. Since she had passed from this life, it was up to me now to fulfill her mission, to carry on the mission of our family line. So I began to drink and smoke and get high and not think about it. I tried to put it out of my mind. That didn't really happen. That was just my imagination. Maybe that couldn't be real. And so years later, after so many years, not that many, maybe 5 years or so of drinking and smoking and just abusing my body, trying not to see what my mother was showing me, I decided to go fully the other direction, to do a cleanse, to cleanse my body and to stop partying, to give my life some kind of direction, but I didn't know what direction. So I meditated. I meditated on it. I asked the source, the creator, God, if you will, if you guide me, give me a sign. What is it that you want me to do? I will do it to my very best of my abilities, and I will continue with that path. If I don't receive a sign, or whatever it is that I'm asked to do turns out to be, kind of, stupid, then I'm going to go back and figure out my life my own way. So I stopped eating all red meat, no dairy. I ate tofu, rice noodles, vegetables, fresh vegetables, not even frozen, fresh vegetables. Not necessarily organic, but healthier than what I had been eating. I made a tincture. I found a recipe for a tincture to detox. It had like cayenne pepper, burdock root, black walnut, aloe. It had a lot of good stuff in it. And I made a tea out of that and then put it in the refrigerator. And I drank this every day, a gallon of it. I had a gallon of it, and I drank this stuff every day. And it cleaned my body out, every inch of me. It cleaned my soul. And when I got in the elevator to go to work, not only could I smell better because I wasn't smoking cigarettes, but I could smell disease on people who were sick. I could smell the essence of a person. I could smell their inner being. It was really jarring at first, but I gradually got used to smelling people. And, I also started having dreams about my coworkers, dreams of their lives, and I felt compelled to tell them what I dreamt. When I told them what my dream was, they said, "Whoa, how could you possibly know that?" So I realized this cleaning my life, cleaning my attitude, this had taken me to another level. So I worked in a building where there were a lot of lodges, if you will, groups that met together and performed different ceremonies, and like a club, some organizations. It just so happened, though, in this particular building, it's what I would call a nexus, in that there were many different lodges, all in this one skyscraper in New York. Not really a skyscraper, like really high, but a very tall building nevertheless. So I felt like someone was watching me from inside the office. There was a statue, a golden statue, and the statue seemed to have a presence. I was aware of that presence, and it didn't really frighten me. It fascinated me that I was now aware that there was a non-corporeal entity watching me, observing me. So I said, well, let me just not think this is more than what it is. Let me just not take it too seriously. Let me walk away. And as I walked away, I heard this sound. Coo! whoosh. It was so loud and it echoed throughout the entire building. I just took off running. I started running as though my life depended on me moving out of the way of whatever was approaching. So I ran down about 2 flights of stairs, and then I said, why am I running from nothing? I didn't even see what it was. Let me just go back up, examine logically, and see whatever made that sound. If I could identify what made the sound, then there would be a logical explanation. So I went back to that room, which, by the way, had a glass door, and that's why I was able to see inside. I found it very difficult to see inside because it was so dark inside there. So I went home after work, of course, and I laid down, went to sleep, and then I started replaying the day and all the events that occurred in that day. And I realized what the conundrum was. When I first observed the room, when I first observed the being, the lights were on in the room. When I went back, I realized in my reflection that sound was the sound of the lights being turned off. Now, the light switch doesn't make that sound, but and I should also point out, no one else in the building heard that sound. I asked them. I even checked the logs, the sign-in logs, to see who was working that day, who might have been working on that floor, if there were any meetings or any of the lodges were in session on that day. It was a Sunday, so no one was in session, and I was quite alone on that floor that day. So I didn't think much of it, but the being followed me home. It began to torment me. It began to visit my dreams. It wanted me to die. It wanted me to suffer. So I just thought I would put it out of my head. That must be my imagination. I'm just a little nervous about what happened or whatever, so I didn't think about it. And the next day I went to work. I didn't go to check that room. I didn't want any more to do with it. And as I was ready to cross the street on my way home, someone pushed me into traffic before the light changed. And I found myself in the middle of a busy street, and I had to run for my very life to not get struck down and mashed and destroyed. I looked, and there was no one there behind me. There was no one to push me. And I realized this being, it's trying to take me out. It wants to kill me. So, as fate would have it, if you want to call it fate, whatever the condition is, a friend had some books on this very subject, and he didn't intend for me to look at these books. These books were private and were supposed to be secure, but they were not secure. And he left the books in my care, and I read them, every one. I know now. I knew it then, what I was dealing with. So I formed a prayer. I wrote my own prayer because I realized if there is darkness of this magnitude, then there is also light. And if there is light, I will stand with the light. So I wrote my prayer, and I used some of the symbology in the books that I had studied. I made these symbols using incense I blessed this incense myself, and I burned it, and I made the symbology that would protect me and disrupt the darkness that was trying to interfere with my life. After that point, I never had that difficulty again. And I've always walked this path of light since that point. Now, I've reached the point where not only do I walk the path of light, but I guide others on this path. If you're seeing this video, you are one of the people who I'm guiding. It is a great honor. It is a great blessing to be allowed to serve in this plan to build paradise on earth. I am Ezichi Ade. This is the Golden Circle Movement channel. Now you know a little bit about Ezichi Ade. We'll talk more, but for now, I'm interested in your origin story. How did you get to be here, watching this video, on this path of light, on this divine quest? How did your story begin? Tell me a little bit in the comments. Please like this video if you found any interest in it. If you found anything useful, please share it with others. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe bell so that you're notified when future videos are uploaded. And again, I'm Ezichi Ade for the Golden Circle Movement channel. Thank you for your participation in the Divine Light program. Thank you for helping to create paradise on earth. Namaste.